Hey Wes, how are you?
Doing well, John. How are you?
Good, good. Well, you're kind of new here at Jordan Valley Church, and thought I would ask you, who are you?
That's a really good question. I'm a pastor, I'm a husband, a father, a son. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, the first thing I think of is that I'm a human. I'm a dad, husband, pastor. Anyone who's listened to very many of my sermons knows I'm an ice cream connoisseur. That's pretty much who I am.
Yeah. Who are you? And how do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Maybe it's your parents that have defined who you are, whether for good or for ill.
Or maybe it's the opinions of others that you have relied on. Some of those opinions could be negative. You're a failure, you're a has-been. Or positive, you're the star goat.
That's right, and it's even more than that. Identity issues are all around us right now in our culture, even to the extreme of asking these questions of, well, if I feel like I'm a woman, does that make me a woman, regardless of what my body might say? Identity issues are much more than that. They shape who we are. They affect how we see the world, how we see our relation to others. They sometimes even remind us of things that we don't want to be reminded of, or things that we wish we weren't.
Yeah, and perhaps the most important question in this discussion of identity is, who is God? John Calvin famously wrote that our wisdom primarily consists of two things: the knowledge of God and the knowledge of ourselves. And so even Jesus himself, when he was with his disciples, asked them, "Who do you say that I am?" And Simon Peter responded, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." This is where we have to begin if we want a true sense and knowledge of our identity in God.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So often when we come to figuring out who we are, we tend to look inward, right? And to your point, the most foundational thing is actually we have to start with who God is. And so our next discipleship module that we'll be kicking off this next week is all around issues of identity. And it's going to be starting with understanding who God is, who He made us to be, and who we are becoming in Christ. It's hard to think of a more important issue for us right now. Certainly you find yourself wrestling with these things, and you find yourself in a culture that has all kinds of answers to that question of how do you know who you are. And so our goal over the next 6 weeks is to really help you be rooted in a biblical idea of who you are, but then also give you some of the tools and categories and ways to engage and explain to others about who God made them to be, and how to give them some of the hope of the gospel in a culture that is really wrestling with what is my identity. So you can watch this discipleship module on our YouTube channel. It'll also be sent out each week on the JVC Discipleship Podcast. We would love every one of you to listen to it, because we think this is incredibly important for us in this day of age.
Great. See you there.